My name is Einav Avni. I'm an alignment coach and energy healer. I mostly work with people that are suffering from chronic conditions to help them heal or reduce their symptoms. And this podcast, Healing Conversations for Anything Chronic, is really here to bring this message that healing chronic conditions is possible in a natural way, or at least a way to complement whatever treatment or journey you are on. So, this said, I have today in the studio, I have Divya Dhawan. I'm sorry, I always have to say I have very good intentions of pronouncing people's
No,
names
you're good.
correctly.
You did it well. But thank you so much for having me here, Ainav. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So really, let's get started because I'm very happy to share your story and your wisdom with the people watching or listening to this podcast. But tell us, let's start somewhere. Tell us something about you.
Yeah, so the where like to start is like sort of my story, how I got into doing what I'm doing today. So I have a history with autoimmune disorders, and that is why I'm so passionate about working with people who have autoimmune disorders. So this started really when I was like a kid. I used to have a lot of stomach issues. When I did my health coach training, I did and also find out that I had eating disorders, which I had no clue I had when I was growing up. So I had eating disorders. I had a lot of digestive issues. I used to have constant headaches all the time, and all that I used to get from doctors is like just those pills, pop in, and you'll be fine. And the next day again have the headache. So it was really chronic for me. But I did not get any solutions. As I grew up, it got little better. So I did not have those headaches. I did not have as much digestive issues going on, but I still had something going on inside me because I used to have those carpal tunnel syndrome, the pain on the wrist over here. I was definitely deficient in a lot of nutrients that when I replenished, I felt that many things were going away, have gone away. But the sort of boiling point came for me when I in 2012 when I actually started getting these white sort of ulcerations on my cornea, and it was mostly on this eye, on the right eye. But and it used to get so dry and red, and then those ulcerations. And I was just running from doctors to doctors trying to find out what it is because I did not have any other symptom at that moment. um, all I got was scare that it could be something like a cancer, it could be something very dangerous. But what? No one told me what. They always just kept scaring me. Anyway, it went, and so this kind of ulcerations used to come and go. So it used to come, stay there for like a week, and then go away. And I was like, maybe some kind of infection. I don't know. I'm fine now. So this continued for a year, and then it went away. And then in 2013 I had this really bad flare up after getting sick with some kind of flu. I still don't know what kind of flu was it because no one diagnosed it at that point. But after this flu went away, right after that I started getting these bad joint pains, and it was so bad that not a single joint in my body could move. There was down from the bed on the floor because my the base of my foot would hurt really bad. It would feel like I'm stepping on like big boulders.
Mm.
So that was the kind of feeling I used to get. The whole body was sore, muscles, all joints, everything was aching, debilitated completely, big puffy eyes, dry, and then dry mouth as well. But of course, because of the severity of the other symptoms that I had, the joint pains and the aches, the eyes and mouth were nothing in front of them because of the kind of pain that I was having in that moment. But that was when I started going to doctors and trying to get an answer for what is happening with me. Some doctors initially told me I have ankylosing spondylitis. Others told me it could be something else. They were not able to figure out. But then finally, I found one rheumatologist who was able to diagnose me properly, and he found that I had Sjogren's syndrome. Previously, this disease was called Sjogren's syndrome, but now it's called Sjogren's disease. It has been declared this year that it is being called Sjogren's disease, not Sjogren's syndrome. And that was a point in which I was like, okay, finally I have answers. I know what I have, and now I can live peacefully, and I will get cured from it, because that's what my conditioning was, and most of us have that. Once you get a diagnosis, you know where to go after that.
Mm.
But that is so far from the truth, because next question that I asked my doctor was, okay, I have Sjogren's. That's great. You found it out. Now what? What's the cure for it?
Mm.
And to my dismay, the answer was, there's no cure for it. And all we can do is we can manage your symptoms, and we will put you on these medications which is going to manage your symptoms, and you have to be on them for your whole life. And I was like, okay, so I have a very scientific background, right? I look into why things happen. This is just how I am, this is my nature. So I asked him, why is this happening, right? Why is my body attacking myself? There has to be reason, right? Because we know the conventional medical system as a very scientific, establishment, right? So I was like, they need to know the why, because they are the people who do the work behind this. So tell me the why. And the why was, we don't know why it happens. It just happens, and we have to we know only how to manage it. So these two answers really put me off, and then I was like on my own journey, because I'm a very intuitive person. So even in that moment, my intuition started telling me that I I do not have to live like this for my whole life, and there is a way out, and I have to find that way out. And I was constantly being bombarded with some information that I followed. And when I changed my diet, I changed my lifestyle, I started doing a lot of yoga. Yoga is a very monumental, played a very, very monumental part in my healing. It's a mind body practice, right? It's because it connects your mind and your body, and not the brain, the mind. So, so yeah, in 1 year I was able to put myself into remission. I was off all the medications, and it was completely miraculous, even for the doctors to see. And they were like, okay, we've never seen this happen, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it, it's really good. So that's how I got into this. And then there was a repeating theme that happened all the time. I used to meet friends and family who used to tell me that we have this autoimmune disorder that we have been diagnosed with, and that the doctor has said there's no cure, and they used to accept it. And I used to think to myself, of course, I couldn't say, I didn't say anything, any of this to them, but I used to think to myself that no, that's not the case. You can, heal yourself. Your body can heal.
Mm.
And then eventually, I became a health coach. And then now I'm a functional health practitioner, so that I can help all these people who have autoimmunity and who feel hopeless and think that this chronic disease or this autoimmune disease is their life sentence. My mission is to help them understand that it is not a life sentence, and we can heal from it.
Amazing. I love this story. I mean, I more particularly love the story where you decided to do something about it, and
Yeah, yeah,
find
yeah.
a way. But I'm curious, what was that intuition that says actually it's probably something to do with what I eat, and later on also adding the yoga into it. How did you find that this is the thing that was actually helpful for you?
So I did a lot of research. I talked to a lot of people who have. So I found a lot of people in my journey who have been able to reverse their conditions. I found a lady who was in the same yoga school as I was going, and I talked to her, and she's like, "I used to have these really bad RA joint pains, and they have gone just because I do yoga, and I cannot just I simply cannot live without yoga."
Mm.
And so I also did a lot of research, right? So intuition tells you to do something, and you have to do that work to actually find out what you need to do. Intuition is not. So intuition is like is like a light at the end of the tunnel, but you have to walk up to it.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't just download it. You have to do. There's some actions to do.
Yeah. You have to do inspired action
Hmm.
to be able to walk on that path that you're supposed to.
But would you say that it's always the same kind of diet that you need to follow in order to really be able to start reversing your symptoms?
Yes, and that's a great question, because for some people find really helpful to get on the paleo diet. Some people really find it beneficial to go on a vegan diet, um, and others just anti-inflammatory diet. So it's really what the body needs, and that I think also ties into what Ayurveda says, that we have a lot of bio individuality. Our body types are different, so what we need is different. But in general, even if we don't do the vegan or the paleo or the very extreme diets, if even if we just follow the anti-inflammatory diet, which means that we remove all the processed food, all the sugar, all the alcohol, all the caffeine, and all the gluten, then that itself is very helpful for most people.
Mhm. Yes, the culprits, they keep coming up in many of the conversations. So I understand that. And so um, processed food will be anything that comes from a packet with an expiry date, as I say.
Yes, absolutely. Now, there are categories of processed foods, right? So if you're going for a Doritos or a chips, it's a complete no. Don't go for it because it has so much salt and so many chemicals in it that you cannot eat it. But if you're going to for a freezer where you have like frozen cut vegetables, that is fine because there's no chemical in that. It's
Mhm.
just the vegetables which have been boiled and have been frozen, and you can reuse them, reheat them, and that's fine. So there are categories of processed food that you need to start making the differentiation in. You don't have to do like everything at home, but you have to be smart about it. You know what I mean? So don't go for the burgers, don't go for the pizzas. These are the worst foods to have. They are also called, in this country, they are called the sad American diet, and they are not the best food to have, and especially not from those chains. If you're making your own, that's still okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, these are the most processed foods. When you go into the aisles, look at the ingredient labels. If they have a lot of chemicals in that, so for example, a simple thing like a bread, a bread should have just three ingredients: a sourdough starter or some kind of starter, right? And flour and water.
Mhm.
But what does the bread have? It has a long list of 20 ingredients in it. It is highly processed. We shouldn't be eating it
Mhm.
because all that goes into us, into our body, and our body has to do all the work to eliminate it. And when it's not able to do it, we'll get sick.
I heard someone says once that don't put in your body what you wouldn't put in your aquarium.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, for those of you who know how to make an aquarium, one of my friends made it, so I know how to, people do it. The water that we get in our the city water is highly impure, if
Mm.
that's the right word to use. So, filtered water. Go for filtered water because that water you cannot use in your aquarium. Your fishes will die.
Right. So
Mhm.
it's even the water that is not right.
Mhm.
And so okay, so you figured out that the diet is important, and like you say, anti-inflammatory diet is probably is okay as a general rule.
Yes. Yes.
So what was it specifically about yoga that you found that was helpful?
So, for all of us who have autoimmunity, there's a lot of stagnation that happens in the body. There's a lot of stagnant energy. So, it could be from past trauma, it could be from some kind of stress that we get, it could be just from not moving, right? And then also the mind body connection is lost. Inherently, we humans are supposed to be very connected beings,
Hmm.
connected to God, connected to the universe, connected to our own higher selves. But we have lost that connection because of the modern lives that we have, because we are always on that go, 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 go mode. That we never have a single moment in the day that we sit down and think about anything else, um, apart from what we have to do or the phone. It's always in our hands, and we're always on the phone. I it's so um, it's so sad to see that even if you like go to a some kind of station, metro station, or some kind of airport, whatever, there used to be a time, and I've lived that time, so I know it, that we used to talk to each other. We used to read newspapers. We used to have conversations there, but the conversations have gone, the connectedness has gone. And not just the connectedness with each other, but also the connectedness with our own self has gone. And that is the reason I found yoga so beneficial, because yoga helps you start looking inside of yourself and start getting connected to your own self.
I have heard about that. I have heard that about yoga.
Hmm.
I've only ever done prenatal yoga, and not sure I connected with it that much. But of course, everyone is talking about yoga. But so what in yoga, other than the movements that you obviously do, how is that helping you to connect deeper to yourself?
So, well, that's a very technical question. Okay, let me talk about it. So, you heard about the vagus nerve?
The vagus nerve, yeah.
Yeah, and have you ever heard about all the new biohacking techniques that are coming out, and the different devices that are coming out that help you connect, that help the nerve to work properly in our bodies?
Hmm.
Yoga does exactly that
Right.
without telling us all that.
Right.
So in the yogic language, or in the Sanskrit text, it has been mentioned, which, because when I did yoga, I told you I'm a very scientific person, very logical minded person, and
Hmm.
then I do go into the whys of things. So I started looking into why yoga does what it does, and so I came across a lot of texts which told me about uh, the vagus nerve, which is in Sanskrit called the Shushmana Nadi. So it
Shoshana.
is Shushmana Nadi, yes. So when this Shushmana Nadi gets blocked, is when all the different organ systems start not working as well, and we start having all these different kind of problems. So if I don't know if you know about it, but POTS or dysautonomia is a classic disease in which the autonomic nervous system is not working properly, and they need to stimulate the vagus nerve.
Right.
So, how yoga works is that it stimulates the vagal tone. It stimulates the Shushmana Nadi, so that the flow of, and so basically in yoga um, we don't talk about currents, or yeah, or like blood flow or things like that. We talk about energy flow,
Hmm.
right? Because it looks into the subtle body also. So if you go into the yogic sciences, they talk about the different subtle bodies that we as humans have, and it's there on my blog also. If someone is interested, they can connect with me, and I can give them the blog address, and they can go and look at it. But we have at least five more subtle bodies. So we have our emotional body, we have our mental body, we have our spiritual body, and all of those bodies, when they're not in alignment with each other, that is also when our Shushmana Nadi or the vagus nerve is not working properly. And when the vagus nerve or the Shushmana Nadi is not working properly, we'll have all those disorders. What yoga does is it helps with those different movements, and with that, because when you're doing yoga, you cannot do yoga properly if you're not focused in what you're doing. You have to have a laser sharp focus, right?
Hmm.
So it reduces your brain fog, it increases your clarity and your sharpness in your brain. And then it also, and that the reason it happens is because that energy flow from down, from your pelvic area up to the cranial nerve here, where the at the back, where the vagus nerve ends, to there, and then back down to the pelvic. That is how the vagus nerve, it
Hmm.
starts from the cranial nerve, goes down to the pelvic area, and it is touching each and every organ and part of our body. So the energy flow is unblocked, and when that energy flow is unblocked, our body knows how to heal. The healing will start.
And it's so interesting, though, listening to what you're saying, to this, scientific explanation, because
Hmm.
of course, when we hear about autoimmune, we go into a different place, right? We say, oh, the body is attacking itself. The body doesn't know how to recognize,
The
I won't
threat.
go into all of these things that people say, but we go into the fear and to the totality of the diagnosis, right? There's nothing you can do. And actually listening to what you are explaining, it's you can see that there is something, there is hope, the-
Oh
there
yeah.
is a way forward. And it's so different in attitude, and also there's no fear. There's just actually, hey, let's try it, let's see what's happening, let's see how we can incorporate all of these things that clearly people have tried and succeeded with.
Mhm.
Let's see how that works. That's, I think it's such an incredible message that feels to me like, yeah, absolutely, more people need to hear about that.
Yeah, yeah, and what I found in my own healing journey is that anyone, if he's put any provider, okay, it doesn't mean particularly a doctor. So I'm not trying to misrepresent anyone, but any provider, if that person is saying that there's no hope for you, run, just run, because the moment you start believing those lies is when your body will start uh, helping you believe those thoughts by actually creating that reality for you.
That's the mind-body connection that you mentioned.
Mind body connection, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so we're talking now. What is it? Sjogren.
Sjogren's.
Sorry. Yes,
No,
sorry.
it's a tongue twister.
But we are actually talking about also very specifically about other autoimmune conditions that can have similar impact when we look at diet and yoga.
They do, yes. I have had a friend long years ago. Uh, this is about, I should say, 13, 14 years ago, that I had a friend who was not able to conceive. And all she did was start yoga on a regular basis, and then she was able to conceive and have a baby.
Mm.
It also balances the hormones. So think about it. The work of the vagus nerve or the Shushma nadi is to actually balance everything in the body, have everything working properly. So yoga does exactly that. It first stimulates the vagus nerve, and then it also balances the hormones. It also improves your digestion because you're now in the parasympathetic nervous system mode, or the this is also in the layman term it's called the rest or digest mode, where your body can heal. So that is how yoga works. And then even if you do not do yoga, and if it's a religious thing for you, you don't want to do yoga, you can at least try some spiritual practices like meditation or some breathing techniques. Breathing, the origin of breathing techniques, honestly, has started from yoga itself, pranayam, but now there are different names to it: somatic breathing, Wim Hof breathing, and this breathing and that breathing, whatever. But it doesn't matter what the name is as long as you're doing it.
Right, because when you do your breathing and meditation, you help to regulate, and then the vagus nerve is actually starting to calm down.
Yes,
Um,
yes. And then whenever, so this is what I tell my clients also. So this is sort of like a free coaching that I'm doing here. But I tell this to my clients: your breath is the language that your mind understands, right? So normally, how do we breathe? It's a very shallow breathing.
mhm.
We don't even take a full breath ever. And whenever we like finish the day off, sit down, calm down, relax, that's how do we breathe? It's like that is the breath we take then. That is the message to your brain that, okay, the chaos of the day has finished. Now you can relax. So the
Mm.
mind then starts the whole, you know, rest and digest and heal processes. But we can activate that, we can biohack that, we can do that on a regular basis in the day by just simple breathing. If you, because this is the message that the brain, that our mind gets from our body, right? That is the way the brain understands the situation of the body. So if we do deep breathing on a conscious level, after every 1 hour, 1.5 hour, put that timer on your phone, do it for like 5 minutes, just the deep breathing. You don't even have to do any kind of technique there. That will help immensely to put the body in that rest and digest and heal mode.
Mhm. It's very interesting, actually. I mean, of course, there's people, yeah, there's people that say, oh, breathing, but you have to do a certain way. But actually, you're right. Just as long as you just do deep breath and you actually bring yourself into the moment, right?
Yeah.
That's
And that's really where you start. Once you get that habit, then you can start using different techniques.
right. Okay, so it's letting me off the hook. There's more to me. Okay.
Yeah, that is where you start. At least start somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
even if you don't do anything, at least doing this will help.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
No, yeah, absolutely. Makes
Mhm.
sense. So how soon after starting incorporating these new eating habits with the yoga and the breathing and meditation did you start noticing a change in your symptoms?
Oh, it was for me. Now it's different for everyone, but for me, I started noticing a difference in 2 months. Uh, Straight up off the bat, I was not having as much pain. All my pains had gone away. My dryness had gone away. I was a new person, and truly, it brought a lot of happiness for me. I
Mm.
could see the happiness that it brought for me. But broadly speaking, in terms of like remission and getting off all the medication, it was a year.
Right. So now you're not taking any of the medications that
No,
you.
I'm not. No. So here's the thing though. I was still SSB positive. So that is the Sjogren's antibody B, which I was positive for when I was diagnosed with the disorder. So I haven't tested myself in many years now because I don't have any symptoms. So I don't feel the need to go and do that. But I did that for at least 3 years. After my remission too, I was like, no, I need to be careful about it. I need to get myself checked, right?
Mm.
So I did not have a single symptom, but I was still positive for that test result. Now, for many people, they worry a lot about that test result that, oh my God, we need to bring that test result down. But what really matters is how your body is responding.
Mm.
That number on the paper is just a number on the paper. What is more important is how you feel and whether you have those symptoms or not, and whether you are in control of your health destiny or not.
So I have two questions actually that I want to just get back to quickly.
Sure.
First of all, I guess you said that Sjogren's was a symptom or syndrome, and now it's a disease. What made it jump from one name to another?
So some years back, it was a very rare disease. So it used to happen with very a few people, but today the data is like it happens to, um, I think, almost 4 million people in the US alone,
Mm.
and it is increasing. And 90% of those 4 million are women. So it is very prevalent now, and so it has been changed from a syndrome to a disease.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the other question really is that the question that you asked the doctors, right? Why did it happen? Did you ever find out what is behind
So,
this?
yeah, interestingly enough, I did. Interestingly enough, I did. So, the the first time when I found out what is causing all those problems was from the Ayurvedic point of view. When I started doing my research right after I was given the diagnosis, so I started doing my research and I found that, according to Ayurveda, the reason the body gets sick, and no matter what the disease is, it does not matter. It
Mm.
all starts from the gut, because after many years of using the gut, like we do, and the kind of environment we live in, there's so many toxins that go into the body, and they are collected here in the gut, and they're not removed. If they're not removed properly, the Sanskrit or the Ayurveda term for it is ama, which means toxins. So
Mm.
when we have too many of these toxins, there are different things that can start happening in the body, and it can be different for everyone, right? Someone will have fibromyalgia, someone will have Sjogren, someone will have RA, someone can have something related to the lungs, some can have some people can have something relating to the nerves, like neuropathy, something of that sort. So it's different for everyone, but that
Mm.
is where it starts. So that was my first understanding. Then I came into functional, when I got my functional health practitioner training from functional diagnostic nutrition, is when I found out that, um, what is happening inside our body is never addressed, right? So for women, there's so many hormonal issues going on, and especially with the kind of endocrine disruptors we have these days in our environment,
Mm.
from the personal care products to the fragrances in the dryer sheets, just an example, to the household cleaning products, to the food that we eat, to the plastics that we have around us everywhere. All of these are huge endocrine disruptors, and and for they affect men too, but they affect women more,
Mhm.
right? They affect everyone, but they affect us more because we have so many hormones. We have these hormone cycles which need to be balanced. And so when the hormones are imbalanced, um, and we have too much stress, which we have in this day and age, no
Mm.
matter what, even if you don't feel it, you still have it. That's the reality of it. Even if
Yeah.
you don't feel it, which I know of so many people. And even I sometimes I don't even feel that I have stress, but my body tells me the story. So, when we have too much stress and our hormones are imbalanced, that can cause a lot of health issues. When that is happening, our gut microbiome goes for a toss, our gut health goes for a toss, and we can get a lot of infections, parasites, all those things which can aggravate the health even more, the health issues even more.
Mhm.
And then that causes adrenal burnout, right? Because our adrenals are trying to cope up with all this salt that is happening all the time on the body, and then that pushes us into adrenal burnout. That is when women feel that, shoots, I've slept for 10 hours, I still get up and I feel like I've been run over by a truck.
Really? So when you work with chronic fatigue, for example, that's where you go for the adrenals?
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
I didn't know that.
Because we have so when if someone has adrenal fatigue, they definitely have burnt out adrenals, which means that their adrenal is not able to provide the amount of um, hormones or cortisol that the body needs. So it's very classic in Cushing's syndrome also, where the body doesn't make sufficient cortisol. The adrenals are not working as well, right? And the two diseases which are actually related to adrenal function are Addison's and Cushing's.
What about gout? Is that part of the story, or is that nothing to do with it?
Gout has more to do with digestion. When we are not digesting the food properly and the protein is not getting digested properly, it is being excreted through the kidneys, and that is when a lot of uric acid is being produced, and that uric acid causes gouts.
So you could again change the diet and basically reverse
Yeah.
the symptoms.
Yeah, and it depends on the person. So I don't like to go by what I think should be done. I like to do functional lab testing. That is why, because that helps me understand exactly what is going on with the person, because everyone is different.
Mhm.
Everyone is different.
And so that I wanted to ask really, how do you work with people? So, there's things like we discussed now that are more generic: diet, yoga, understanding the vagus nerve, understanding the breathing, and also, yeah, like you said, there's stagnation in the body. But more specifically, so someone's been diagnosed with any of the autoimmune diseases, and they come to you, and what then?
Okay, so so it is very individual. It's a very individualized program that I have, because it depends on what the symptoms are. According to that, we do the tests and we find out what is going on, and then I make 100% customized protocol depending on what their body needs according to the test results.
And by protocol, you mean diet, exercise?
Diet, lifestyle, exercise. I follow the DRESS protocol, which means that the D is for diet, R is for rest, because if we are not getting rest, like not just lying down on the bed, but rest, that our body can in which our body can actually start the rest and digest process. If we're not getting that, then it is no use. So DRESS is, let me complete that acronym first before I go into any explanation. So D is DRESS, R is rest. D is diet. Sorry, I said rest. So diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and then smart supplementation.
Mm.
So all of that, and then supplementation is the last, and there's a reason it's the last part, because just the supplementation will do nothing if you
Right.
do not change these other parts of the whole equation. So if we do not change the diet, if we do not change how we rest, if we do not change um, how we exercise. So for some people, they come to me and they tell me that I'm doing my best. I'm going to I'm going to the gym every single day, working out for so many days. Or the people who run, right, who think that running will help them, and they're running every single day, but their renals are giving out, and they're still running, and they're still running, and they're still running. And so there will be a day when you cannot get up off the bed too, because your body is giving you some signs that you're not looking at.
I really like
So exercise. So going to the gym is a good thing, but only when you have built up that reserve in your adrenal glands. And for most of us who have autoimmune disorders, adrenals are burnt out. So going to the gym and hitting it like 5 times a week and heavy does not help.
not happening. But I think what I like, what I hear you say actually is, and I believe that this dress, probably other than the last S, I think that's also the Ayurvedic the medicine. That's what they talk about, right? It's really about this bringing it all together, and so you can't just do just one of them, right? You can't just go to the gym. You can't just change your food. You have to do it all
All-
together to get the results that you actually want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if anyone wants to work with me, they can simply just go to my Facebook page or Instagram page, or join my group and then connect with me. So I do offer a 15-minute free health consultation call,
Mhm.
in which we talk about, I understand what their health is like, and I also give them some details of my program if they want to. And if we are a good fit, we can decide to go forward. If not, I try to help them best of my possible capabilities,
Yeah, and
direct
of
them in
course,
the right direction as well.
and all of your social links and everything will be somewhere in the show notes, so people
Mhm.
can definitely find you and get in touch and learn from you as well.
Yeah, thank you. That is great.
And but tell me, so is it just face to face that you work with people, or can you do it remotely as well?
Oh, I do remotely. All the work that I do is remotely,
Right.
on Zoom, and it is easy because you don't have to travel.
That is true. So
Yeah.
you would get people to do blood tests and stuff before they come and work with you,
No,
or
so the tests that they do are very easy at home kits that I send them over, that I just drop ship at their homes and with the instructions, and they can connect with me also once they are a part of my program. I provide them one-on-one support, even with those instructions, and they send back the test to the labs, and we get the test results in email, and then we go over it and start working on the protocols and everything. And then they also have access to an online program with me, which is something that they can work on while in between the coaching calls, because I do have laser focused coaching calls that I offer to the people who want to work with me.
Mm. And tell me, you mentioned before something about how challenging it is for people, at least with Sjogren's, with the hydration. What's that all about, and what do you offer for that?
Yeah, so all of us who have Sjogren's are more or less dehydrated. And so if you look at it, so I always look at things from not just the modern medicine perspective, but also from the Ayurvedic perspective, because I have that I have that brain
Mm.
somehow. So I do look at it. So anyone, if someone is telling me I have a very dry skin, I have a very dry mouth, I have a very dry eyes, so yes, from the functional medicine perspective, I would tell them that you need to heal your gut, because the mucosal membranes in the eyes, the mouth, or even the vagina are the same as the ones that we have in our gut. And if they are compromised, like the lining in the gut is compromised, the mouth mucosal membrane, the eyes mucosal membrane, all of that is also compromised. So we definitely want to work on that. But the other part is the lens of Ayurveda, is that you are dehydrated, and plus a lot of good fat is needed in the body, right?
Mhm.
So good quality omega 3s are needed,
Right.
high dose, high dose.
I
And so
do.
the dehydration, going back to the dehydration, how does hydration happens on a cellular level? It happens because of minerals, right? And the way we the way we live, unfortunately, we are not drinking spring water, because spring water naturally has a lot of minerals that hydrates that cells that we have in our body, and we don't have that kind of water anymore. So the water we have is either that municipal water that is highly polluted with heavy metals, cadmium, chlorine, which
Mm.
disrupts all the cell functions, and also fluoride, which also blocks our pineal gland to function. Pineal gland is the gland which helps the body function properly, right?
Mhm.
All the messages come from the pineal gland to do all the functioning in the body. And even if you do filter the water, like I have a RO filtration at home, that is devoid of all the minerals. Now
Right.
it does not have any minerals. So I don't know if you know about this or not, but if you take this water and you give this water to the plants, the water from the RO, plants will die.
Really.
so so we need to remineralize. The
Yeah.
water is good because the water that we drink is good, but the problem is it does not hydrate us the way it should. So we
Yeah.
need minerals and we need to remineralize. Now, a general advice would be to add a good quality electrolyte. But now that is again a general advice, right? So what I am offering just for this week is a course which is called Nervous System Reboot, in which we look into exactly what minerals your body is lacking and then replenishing that with the help of a custom formula. And so, what happens after that is that when your cells are getting hydrated, they start functioning at the optimal level. When they start functioning at the optimal level, the dryness will automatically start reducing.
It
And
sounds like, but it sounds like something that many of us probably, should
would
really
help.
do that. Not just people with autoimmune
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
conditions.
Yeah, and my focus is mostly on people who have Sjogren's because I know that they are dehydrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no matter how much we drink, we still are dehydrated. So it's important to add electrolytes, but to do it in this fashion, which is like customized to what your body needs by testing it out, and then doing it, and then also removing. So this is it's a 2 3 part process. It also helps with nervous system regulation because now the cells are not stressed out. The
Mm.
cells have the minerals and if anyone remembers the high school chapters that we studied, right, in chemistry or the or biology for that
Yeah.
matter.
Don't remember
Uh,
anything.
so our cells have, and again, I've said I'm a scientific person, so that's why I talk a lot of science. So um, the cells have minerals that control all the functions. So there are sodium potassium pumps which help with the transportation of different materials into the cells and out of the cells.
Hmm.
So that is potassium and sodium ions. So it's a little unstable form of the element itself. I'm talking too much chemistry, but apart from that, we also have magnesium, we also have calcium. So all these minerals, and there are many others. I'm just talking about 4. They help with the basic cellular function, and when we are lacking in those, the cell simply cannot function, right?
Mm.
So when we replenish the minerals, we are actually helping the body at a cellular level, and we are helping the body get the energy at the cellular level because now the body has those minerals to work with and to get the energy from. Because even the energy molecule, which is ATP, is transported with the help of
I
these.
have this image of like a raisin that gets back into a grape, kind of, when you
Yeah.
say that.
So the 3 parts are remineralize. So for testing your it is done with the help of hair. So we test your hair for the minerals, and hair actually keep the minerals for a long time, and it
Mm.
is done with a very sophisticated test methodology. And then we find out your tests, your minerals, and then we balance them out. So sometimes people who have HbA1c high for a long time also have chromium lacking in their body. So adding chromium for them. So some people who have thyroid, adding selenium for them, and not not something that you. It's not to say that go and buy selenium and chromium right away, but test yourselves for that, and then removing the heavy metals. That's a very important part. When our body has heavy metals, our body naturally tends to go in stress.
And when I work with people using the body code, a lot
Hmm.
of the time we go into toxins,
Right.
and there's so many heavy metals. Sometimes it's like, where are they coming from? It's like it's a
Hmm.
really big question, and but I
There
understand
are
that.
many sources. Yeah, there are unfortunately many sources these days. So, is it okay if I list out a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Okay. So, non-stick cookware has cadmium and mercury in it. Cadmium and lead, not mercury. If you have old houses where you're living in and has paint which had lead in it, that can leach lead into your body.
Mm.
Apart from that, there can be heavy metals that can be coming from many other sources like water, because if water is not filtered, it can also carry some heavy metals.
Mm.
uh, and then no one thinks about the amalgam fillings in the teeth. So if you have fillings that look like silver, that is mercury, and it's constantly leaking in your body and causing the. And if you have heavy metals in your body, by the way, you also have parasites.
Right, right. So that's the other question, right? So when we remove pathogens, or when we identify pathogens, and sometimes, especially people that I work with that have psoriasis, for example,
Mhm.
um, they have lists and lists and lists of pathogens, and parasites, of course, is one big one, as well
Mm.
as
Yeah.
fungal and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and when body is not able to remove something, uh, anything like a toxin, it most often shows up on the skin.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense, actually.
Hmm.
But I think hearing everything that you're saying, it's such a refreshing approach. Of course, not necessarily a new one, but still refreshing.
Hmm.
Uh, that people really they go to the doctor and they get the diagnosis and they get like you, right? No cure. We'll manage your symptoms. That's it. Take all these tablets. Watch your liver. All
Hmm.
of that kind of thing. But actually listening to the way that you are describing all of this, it really is okay. So yeah, I need to change some things in my life, my diet, my all of that. But it's it's a new me basically. So all of these things that caused you to get to where you are today, actually you're addressing them, and
Hmm.
it feels so really. I'm going to say simple. I know it's not necessarily simple, but it sounds manageable. It sounds doable. It sounds like it's not scary as when you say autoimmune and then you think, oh my god, my body is literally attacking myself.
Yeah, and there's a sense of overwhelm that also comes in people who have autoimmunity because they're dealing with a lot, honestly.
Mm,
And then when you tell them these are the things that you need to do, they get overwhelmed. But the real thing that I would like to say is that it's easy to get overwhelmed, but you have to understand that your body has been struggling for so long,
mm,
and then you should do and do whatever you can do in your power to provide what the body needs.
yeah, and you can help people translate this need. What is it that actually is
Yeah,
needed?
yeah. And then also, it's helpful to work with an expert who has already done this work because they know the pitfalls, they know the roadblocks, they know how to navigate you through all those things which you don't know how to navigate through, and that will slow down your journey.
And it is interesting for me, of course, you know, because I come from two things from um, the emotions, right?
Mhm.
How come the emotions are there? What are the trapped emotions? What is the message basically? What is your body trying to tell you? And so listen to what you're saying. It feels like a really it's very much complementary, really, the two things,
Yeah,
because understanding what the body needs for sure, very very important. I obviously can't do that.
100%. Yeah, and I also do when I do my coaching and when I do my online program also we talk about emotions and how they can affect our body because trapped emotions can translate into diseases.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
unprocessed emotions.
Yeah, but I think, like you said, also it's when you have all of these trapped emotions, it's also making part of that stress, this hidden stress that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so unprocessed emotions, that is what they do. They give you stress at a level that you cannot understand,
yeah,
but you still have stress, and that stress is causing all the different kinds of problems.
yeah.
So anyone who wants to find out about, um, you know, if your readers are interested in reading a book about stress, so there's a book called "The Body Keeps Score."
Hmm.
So that's a book about how stress affects our body negatively.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, this is an interesting one. There is also another book, when the body says no. That's also one that is by
Mhm.
Gabor Mate. That is it's very interesting as well, because it
Yeah,
really just brings into the our understanding of how every little thing that happened
yeah.
means something.
Hmm.
So Divya, tell me, share with us any one or two success stories for people that you've worked with when they came in one way and actually now very different, of course, other than your own success story.
Yeah, yeah. So I've worked with a lot of clients so far. I've been working as a health coach for almost 4 years now, and almost a year about as working as a functional health practitioner, which means that I've been doing the tests, the labs as well.
Hmm.
So I worked with a client called Mrinalini some few years ago, and she came to me with initial. She was in initial stages of being diagnosed with Sjogren's. She also used to get a lot of hives, and she was also trying to conceive, which was, she was having a lot of problem with that. But then when we worked together. I helped her improve her diet, her lifestyle, and even her mindset, because I do work on mindset as well. So when we started working on all those, and she started moving towards more natural approaches, reducing all the toxins in her home, she was finally able to actually not take the hive medications, and she was just by the supplements that I suggested, she was able to, get off those medications and not have the hives by changing the food also and use the supplements. So, for example, in the beginning, she used to take like two antihistamines every single day. She came down to like maybe one in a week, and then eventually nothing. And yeah, she also was able to conceive a few months after the program as well, and and she saw drastic improvement in her dryness. And then what she's learned in the program is not something that um, is temporary, right? It's a permanent learning, because now she will also use this learning to improve the life of her family, of her kids, of her husband,
Mm.
and I don't know, everyone around us, because healing is a ripple effect. When you heal, you create a ripple effect and you help everyone around you. It's just natural. That's how we humans are.
Yeah.
So that is one story. And then, gosh, okay. So there was this guy whom I worked with, whose name is Pratik. And then he came to me with a lot of dry mouth, feelings of anxiousness as well. And main concern was that he didn't want this disease to progress. And so we worked with him for 4 months, and I helped him again change his diet, change his lifestyle, do a lot of improvements in how, to eat good food, not to have so many toxins, work on our emotions, work on our mindset. And by the end of the program, he had drastic improvements in his dry mouth. He was able to sleep through the night, which is such a big problem for people who have Sjogren's.
Mm.
And yeah, he walked away with all the knowledge. In fact, it was to the point that where he was looking for an eye drop, and he himself looked up the ingredients. He was like, "No, this has preservatives in it. I'm not going to take it." So yeah, drastic improvements happen just by the change in lifestyle and diet. And for other clients for whom I have done functional labs and testings, they have been amazed by how much is going on inside the body that goes undiagnosed. So,
Mm.
for example, a recent client I worked with, Bibiana, she had anxiousness. So, for some reason, people who have autoimmune also do have anxious feelings, anxiety happening for them. So she had anxiety. She had a lot of dry mouth, dry eyes happening. Her relationship with her boyfriend was also suffering because of it. With her relatives was suffering from it. She somehow took the leap of faith, and she said, "You know what? I don't have the money, but I'm still going to work with you." She was 28 years old, too young to get those health issues anyway.
Mm.
Uh, and so we worked on her, gut health. There were a lot of infections that we worked on. H. pylori was a huge one. Candida was a huge one for her. There were some other infections as well. So we worked on that. We worked on improving her adrenal health, because she had very high cortisol, which was causing the anxiety. And then we also worked on how to eat, how the lifestyle. Then we also worked on, her, what was the other thing we did? We did a couple of tests for her. We did her hormones. All her hormones were out of whack, so we worked on those. And yeah, by the end of the program, she started feeling so much better. She did not, you know. So her main concern was, whenever she used to go to the shopping, she was like, "I need to have water with me. I need to have this with me. I have to need, I need this medication with me. Otherwise, I'll have this dry mouth. I'll have this dry eyes. What will I do?" But she used to go for shoppings without any worry. She was like, "I have everything under control, and now I don't have to worry." And her anxiousness also reduced a lot, because anxiousness also has to do with gut health.
I think it's the main thing I guess that comes up for me is that when we are before diagnosis, we let ourselves go, right? We let loose. Everything is, and it's very much, this is how I feel, and this is how I'm trying to mitigate it, or to mask it, or to just kind of put a plaster on.
Hmm.
But it just feels that when you go through all of these things and you really understand actually what is going on with your body, and you start addressing it, it's really like putting things back in order. Really, it's like,
Hmm.
now I have control. And of course, our you know ego mind would say, I don't want to stop having pizzas or burgers or whatever, but this is, this is a version of ourselves that is I don't know, it's really, it's it's just a version of us that is has let ourselves go, and it just feels like now listening to you and everything that you're offering, it really is like, yes, you have to change, but you get your vitality back, you get your quality of life back, you get
Yeah.
everything back that you didn't have before, and
And
it's
maybe even better in many cases, it's better than before.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
because you were on that, you know, journey
Yeah. Yeah, so
into
with
decline.
a couple of clients which I've worked with in the nervous system reboot program, they have started feeling so much better than that. They told me that I we feel better than how we felt in our 20s, like energy wise. So
Yeah,
we have so much more energy and vitality that we did not have that even when we were 20 years old. So yeah,
so
it
there
does
you have it.
create huge results.
Yeah. So everyone listening and watching and all of that, I think, yeah, give Divya a call and find out what test you can do together, and how to get better. I think really, autoimmune or not, it sounds definitely sounds like it can be very
Yeah.
helpful for anyone.
Yeah, and I would like to point out that many people are always waiting for a diagnosis. That, oh, I don't have a diagnosis, so I can't work on myself right now. So I
Mm.
need to wait for another 6 months till I get a diagnosis. I need to wait for another 1 year. So let me tell you, most people who have autoimmunity do not get diagnosed for an average of 10 years.
10 years.
Yes, so 10 years they're suffering. And what what the conventional medicine is not telling you is that there is a lot of things that are going on inside your body. Not to batter the medical system, they are huge. They have it their own place, but
Mm.
they don't work on the root causes. That's a fact, right? So what they don't tell you is that there's a lot of things going on inside your body. Your hormones need to be balanced, your gut health need to be looked at, there are some infections that might be going on which are not being addressed. There could be adrenal burnout happening that is not being addressed. There could be mineral deficiencies or micronutrient deficiencies that are happening which are not being addressed. So all of that, when we address, the symptoms go away, because symptoms are just signs, or like the body crying out to us, hey, you need to help me, come on.
Yeah, message. There is
Yeah.
definitely a message.
Yeah, and so
Divya, oh, yep, go for it.
sorry, go ahead. I was just wanting to say one more thing, that if you even if you do not have an autoimmune diagnosis but you are suffering with these symptoms, it is time to take a stand for your health and take action for it too. And
I
it
think
doesn't
that's
matter which provider you go to, but take some action, investigate why these things are happening, go for the root causes, go to an health provider who actually looks into why these things are happening.
mm,
So it is very important, because if you wait 10 years, then your body will be 10 years ahead, and you would have to do more work for the healing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Divya, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for all of the knowledge and wisdom that you've shared. I've learned a lot, and I am very excited by everything that you're sharing, because it really it's even though I don't have Sjogren's, I probably
Thank God.
I can benefit with all of these things that you mentioned anyway. So it definitely fills me with hope, and I really hope that anyone listening or watching takes a moment to think about themselves. How can they help improve their own health? Also, if they know someone else who needs to listen to this conversation, please do share it. Thank you so much, Divya. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
our
Thank you for
conversation.
having me.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thanks.